I loved learning about the Chilean culture. Even as an outsider, even as somebody who came from so far away, who was, in a lot of ways very different from them, I felt so accepted. I felt like everybody was kind. I mean, not everyone, that's not right, but most everyone was very kind. And everyone I met, at least gave me a hello if I gave them one, which is, it was great. The culture is a lot different from the United States. In the United States, we have a culture of go, 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 go. I'm going to eat lunch at my desk because I don't have any time. I have to do my homework. I have to be at work. And I have to do these millions of things. And I'm going to work until 8 p.m. And, and it's very go, go, go and crazy. But the Chilean culture is a lot more relaxed. Usually people wake up later. They take almuerzo, which is lunch, but it's a big meal. And usually they get like an hour or two off of work, so they can go home and spend that time with their family, take a nap, and then they go back to work and everything closes, not too late. Nothing's open past like 9 p.m., It's very calm. And I think that happens when you're in a more rural place. People were, and this obviously depended on the person, but people were very generous. Everybody was willing to give you food. Everyone was willing to let you at least stand by their fire for a little bit if you were cold. The members especially love you to death, especially if you serve them and you love them and you help them. And if you're an obedient missionary, the members love you. And your mamita, the person who serves you lunch every day, they will become like your mom, like your mission mom. And so Chile is a great place. I think something important to remember about going to a different country is that it's different. And that sounds kind of silly because it sounds like, well, obviously. But we do have to remember that the people in a different country have grown up with different ideals. They've grown up with a different history and with different priorities. And to be careful about the things that you say. And you'll hear a lot of things that are like, oh, ouch, I'm not like that. Like, you'll hear a lot of people be like, oh, well, all Americans are fat, or all Americans are rich and greedy. And you'll hear things like that and it'll hurt you. And just, be careful about the things you say as well. Chile as a country has a very different history than the United States. They've gone through a couple of hard things, trying to figure out who they are. And so sometimes you'll get people who are angry at you because you're an American. And that happens only every once in a while. It's not a lot, but every once in a while you will get that. And, you want to maybe be defensive, but you just have to remember that they grew up with different ideals and they grew up with different history lessons. The interesting thing about Chile, though, is its mix of cultures, because you have a lot of people that are from white descent, like German or Spanish, and they're very light-skinned. And then you have a lot of people from an indigenous descent as well. And sometimes there's like a clash between the two, but genuinely loved everyone I met. There was honestly nothing that there was no stereotype about those groups that I found to be true. But sometimes you'll hear them complain about each other. So the indigenous group of Chileans, they speak a language called Mapuche, and if you find someone who speaks it, it's a really cool language. And they lived in the country for a long time before people came and took over, and before the Germans came. And so sometimes you'll find somebody who knows a lot about the history, and it's so interesting. I knew somebody who knew a lot about Easter Island, who actually was a descendant of the tribe that lived on Easter Island. and who started it. And so we asked her all sorts of interesting questions, and it was so fascinating. And learning about that culture on my mission and as I got back was so interesting. There's an urban legend that takes place on the island of Chiloé. And in Chiloé, they say it rains from the floor, like it rains from the ground, because it's so windy and so rainy, it feels like the rain is just like coming from below and coming up towards you. But it's an urban legend about an old ghost ship that will come to harbor, and it's bad luck to see it. And you'll hear some people talk about it sometimes or joke about it, like, oh, where did that person go? Oh, they got taken by the ghost ship. And it's very interesting. So you do see some different cultures. So to say Chilean culture is kind of weird because there are very different subsets of it. One of my favorite things to study when I got back from my mission, and one thing that you don't have the ability to study on your mission, but is still beautiful, is the literature of Chile. You have wonderful artists who paint beautiful pictures and just beautiful and wonderful. You have Pablo Neruda, you have Isabella Allende, you have so many artists who come from Chile who just have done beautiful things with words and with picture.